Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where, talk about whatever the hell I want. And this is another episode of ranking, and I figured this would be a special one to do. It's October, it's spoopy season, and Halloween is coming up. So we're ranking the Halloween franchise, and I knew one person who I 100% knew went through all of these films and would want to talk about this, and that is my friend Foster. Foster, thank you so much for coming on.
Hello, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how we usually do a two-person ranking. I know we tried something different when we did the I like the Planet of the Apes one because there was a group of people. I did some math beforehand and ranked them all together, which, we can discuss that a little bit at the end. But how we're going to do this, we're going to go through Foster's list and for a minute or two, just discuss each film and then move along, and then I'll give my ranking at the end. So, Foster, what's the bottom of the barrel?
The bottom of the barrel is Halloween Resurrection. Uh, it just
No,
is.
but Julio.
I know. It's it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
very much of its time. They have this whole
Mhm.
like technology-based premise that I feel like doesn't super work. The most frustrating thing was how they handled Jamie Lee Curtis, how they just kill her off, which she
That was
um
terrible.
Yeah, especially because Halloween H2O is a really one of the better ones and has a
Yes.
pretty awesome ending for her character and for Michael Myers, and it just sort of undoes everything. So, like on its own, Halloween Resurrection is just like a stupid movie that is
Yep.
hard to be mad at. But when you watch it in the series, then you're like
Mhm.
really angry at it because of how it wrecks with everything. His mask also looks super dumb. It looks like it's like made of ceramics or something.
So weird. The when the highlight of your movie is Coolio telling off Michael Myers and he just walks away
hmm
because that was like hilarious to watch because like in what world is Coolio the only person that can like make Michael Myers step
Yeah,
down?
it's Busta Rhymes, right?
Oh, is it Buster
I
Rhymes?
think it's Busta Rhymes. I think it's Busta Rhymes.
My God, I've been talking about this terribly for years. Sorry, Buster Rhymes. I did not mean to disrespect you, but I do mean to disrespect Halloween Resurrection
Yeah.
because this movie deserves it. No, like it was a hilarious moment where Michael Myers walks up behind him and Buster Rhymes just thinks he's just a guy and just
hmm
tells him off, and then he just turns and walks away. But
Yeah.
no, this that opening is horrible and just a ridiculous, just tearing to shreds of the last movie. And honestly, Laurie Strode to begin with. And then yeah, this is I get what they were trying to do, modernizing this. It just didn't work. It's not working.
Yeah.
Well, what's next?
This one's tricky because there's two cuts of this movie, and so I'm going with a theatrical cut of The Curse of Michael Myers. That's what I have next.
Okay,
But the producer's cut, I would actually rank higher. Do we want to talk about both of those cuts right now?
sure. You talk a little bit about the producer one because I'm
Yeah.
assuming most people haven't seen that.
Have you seen the producer's cut?
No.
So the theatrical is not very good. It's so much honestly just because of the editing and the way it's put together, where it just feels like a grunge music video, where it's like a lot of dramatic, camera cuts and weird
Mm,
lighting and stuff like that. The sound is really bad. Like I remember there's a scene where I think Paul Rudd is the one in this scene is like at a train station or something, and he's going to find this baby, and you just hear this baby crying, and you're like, that's just a sound effect. Like you can just tell. It's like it's so bad, but the producer's cut fixes like 90% of that. They even have a different score. They use more of the like classic
mm,
Carpenter score. The editing is chilled out. It's not so aggressive and angry
yeah.
it's seeming. It's like actually like a nice sort of more peaceful, chilly, like Halloween vibe. It's the way the movie looks is very Halloween feeling, more so than
Mm,
like the previous couple movies, 4 and 5 in the series, even I think at parts. And I really like in concept some of what goes on in Curse of Michael Myers. It's just the theatrical is so bad.
mm,
And also Paul Rudd is like 5 years old. Introducing Paul Rudd.
yep. Yeah, I that one is where it really starts leading into like the occult.
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I'll get into this in general. My taste of Halloween is keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because like the first Halloween was simple. It had a very
Hmm.
specific idea going, and I think the Curse of Michael Myers just really captures that. Like they went full blown into something else, and like good for them trying to shake it up and do something different. It just didn't turn out very well. And
Yeah.
also, how manic is Paul Rudd in this movie? And yeah, it definitely feels like because what's this 95 close to somewhere around there. I feel like
Let's
when this one
95, yeah.
came, yeah, it feels it. And it's funny that you brought up grunge because like that was definitely a mood in the early to mid 90s was
Hmm.
grunge. Alrighty, so we got Curse out of the way. What's next?
I have Halloween 5 next, which is The
Okay.
Revenge of Michael Myers. This one to me is just kind of nothing. I think
Mhm.
I do like Danielle Harris. I think she's really good in this, and I always like Donald Pleasance. He's really fun in pretty much all
Yes.
of these, so I enjoy all that. This is just one that's sort of forgettable to me, where aside from Danielle Harris, it's just like an hour and a half of not much going on to me.
It felt like the obligatory we needed to make a Halloween sequel,
Hmm.
and they did. It happened. And you
Hmm.
watched it for 90 minutes. I think I watched 4 and 5 and Curse of Michael Myers all last Halloween season. And
Hmm.
yeah, once you get to that point, it kind of just feels like easy fluff you're just eating. It's like, hey,
Uh-huh.
they're very derivative of like it's just another Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Maybe they should make a I know they made Scary Movie, but can you imagine just another Halloween movie
Hmm.
and bring back the Halloween parody fun stuff? Because honestly, this kind of feels like it's just checking boxes.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so there's 5. What's next?
All right, here's where I put the zombie ones. I don't have
Okay.
them right at the bottom because I think they have some stuff going for them. I just generally don't love what they're going for. I have the
Mhm.
first Halloween
Yep.
lower, which now like a couple years on after having first seen these, maybe I might switch that. I'm not sure, but the first Halloween. I like some of the stuff in concept. I like the idea that Michael is like the origin of Michael donning the mask. I think is interesting how that's
Mhm.
explored. Malcolm McDowell is a cool casting choice in theory, but they give him this really weird haircut that's just like so distracting. And I like I like in some cases Rob Zombie's grimy style. I think it works really well in like House of a Thousand Corpses or Devil's Rejects. In here, it feels really forced to me, where like you see his parents like oh get me a beer. It's just like a stereotype, and it's so cringy. It's so bad. It's like it just isn't working. I don't know.
So I'll tell you this: I am a huge Rob Zombie music fan.
Mm,
Like I'm really into metal music, and I really like his music a lot. I hate him as a director. Like, and these were the two movies I still needed to watch to do this were Halloween and Halloween 2 07 09. And so you know how I mentioned Halloween should just keep it simple?
hmm.
How incredibly effective the opening scene of the first Halloween movie is. This movie goes way out of its way
Yeah,
to overcomplicate everything. And yes, the writing is
it's
horrible.
pretty bad. Yeah.
Like Michael Myers' family, that whole entire dynamic is just I hated it. Within the first 30 minutes I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm gonna hate this movie so much. But something I will give it credit for is I think casting Tyler Mane,
Mm.
who is a massive human being, made it very interesting to look at Michael Myers in this because he was just straight up terrifying to just look
Yeah.
at how humongous he is in this. And like even the the Danny Trejo part made me so upset because there was one sympathetic character in this, and this movie's so mean spirited and just brutally
It
murders
is.
him. And
Yeah, it's really mean.
both the Rob Zombie films in general are just so mean spirited, and this just felt like a fundamental misunderstanding of what made Halloween great in the first place,
Yeah.
and just felt like a Rob Zombie movie, which I don't like.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert, they're going to be pretty low on my list.
Yeah.
But Foster, do you have Halloween 2 next?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into that one.
Yeah. Also pretty mean-spirited. I was thinking like the other big mean-spirited horror franchise right now are the Terrifier movies, but those have a sense of humor to them. This is
There's
like
no sense of humor
the
in this.
mean-spirited, but just brutal.
Yeah,
And so I think I have this one ranked higher just for the first like opening 20, 30 minutes or so, which I thought was pretty good. Like that hospital stuff is tense, it's
where they
scary.
remake Halloween 2, and then they're
Yes.
just like, just kidding.
I know. But I remember being like, oh, I actually kind of like what this is going for. The violence feels brutal in a way that's like mean-spirited, but like kind of exciting and thrilling and scary. And I was into it. And I also thought it looked better. Like I liked some of the shots in this movie, like the sort of wet streets and the nighttime cinematography. I thought it looked really cool.
There was one
Um,
shot of that little kid looking up at Michael Myers under the street lamp, and you just see like the silhouette of his face, and just like that was terrifying. I'm like,
yeah,
wow, you can figure out a good shot, Rob.
yeah. This is it's just the thing is after you get past that, it's just unrelenting in like terms of how grim and like
Yep.
depressing and miserable it is. And here's the thing, like that is the point. And so I get that that's the point. And like I guess he's doing exactly what he wants to be doing
Yes.
as a director. Like I think this is the movie he wanted to make. It's just not enjoyable for me, and it's not really like why I like the Halloween franchise. I one thing I will give it credit for is everyone when Halloween 2018 came out was talking about like, oh, this is so clever how they're reworking this story to be about trauma. This was before every horror movie was about trauma.
Yep.
But Halloween 2 did kind of do that first with Laurie Strode. So
Yes.
I will give him some credit there. Because like even I think John Carpenter in interviews has said he doesn't like these movies and Jamie Lee Curtis, you know. So like I feel like we need to give him some credit for some of the ideas that 2018 brought back, and then everyone mostly likes 2018. So
Yeah, I literally just watched a Daddy's Head, a new horror movie this morning, and
mm,
guess what? It was about trauma
it was about trauma.
and loss and grief, which that's the thing. It is very popular to do that. And I will give it credit for that, how he executed it with the most ham-fisted way to get his wife a job. Again, I feel like the only reason that you keep seeing Michael Myers' mom in this is because it's Sherry Moon Zombie. And it's just like, come now. And potentially what they were doing with Loomis was different and interesting, but
Hmm.
like just executed wise. And Malcolm McDowell is just so unlikable and dumb in this. And like you get to the climax of this movie and just like this is the dumbest of the timelines.
Hmm.
And it's just I'll give this more credit than the first one. That's basically
Yeah.
what I'll do, and that's about it.
And this one has Brad
Alrighty.
Dourif.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Brad Dourif is really good in this, and I really
Yeah.
like it. And there's some interesting casting choices in these movies. There's a lot of character actors, and also a lot of like specifically Rob Zombie character
Hmm.
actors that pop up and stuff. But Brad Dourif, I thought was really good in this.
Hmm.
And like, like what winds up happening to his daughter was just like, I'm just like
Oh yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah.
and it's just like, and I'll admit, I'm not a fan of the Terrifier movies either. I just I feel like the slaughter and gore and everything for the sake of it's just and it at least that has a dark sense of humor. This does not.
Yeah.
This is just like, why am I watching this? But anyway, those are the Rob Zombie ones. Next up,
I have Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers next up.
makes a
1988.
lot of sense.
Yeah. Um I don't know. I don't have a ton of thoughts about this. Some positives. Everybody loves the opening credits. I think those are nice and fall vibey. It's just like a lot of leaves and like Halloween objects and stuff, but it sets the
Yeah.
mood and makes you think the movie will be a little bit better than it is. Whoop. I also like Danielle Harris is in this one as well and is good. This is where she's introduced. I do actually like the bonkers ending because this is where it's revealed that she also has this, killing thing going on with her. Um, I feel like once you get like past the first three movies in a horror franchise, you just want it to do crazy stuff at this point because it's like they're not going to be great, they're just going to be insane, and that's the best you can
Yep.
hope for. Donald Pleasance is like up in it each time he comes up for one of these sequels. He just gets increasingly crazier. Um, and yeah, that's about it. There's some fun tension. There's like a scene in was it like a laundry shoot or something at the end of this movie. There's one
Mhm.
between Danielle Harris and Michael Myers that was fun.
Yeah, I feel like four and five are the most just derivative. Hey, look, it's a Halloween sequel. And this one's feels a little less just nothing and tired than the fifth
Yeah.
one.
The lo
So
Yeah, I just realized the laundry shoot was the fifth one, not the fourth one. So one more positive for movie five then at least.
throw that one back. But no, I thought that like the ending shot was an interesting choice, and it was the
Hmm.
most interesting thing about the movie. Because to be
Yeah.
honest, this one is very interesting, and then it's just like convoluting the lore to keep this
Hmm.
franchise going. Because they had to get us hooked back because Halloween masks didn't do the job in
Hmm.
the third one. But we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up next?
Yeah. My next one. I have at this point now here above are ones that I all genuinely like for the most
Hmm.
part. The ones here and below are ones that I are like either lukewarm or I dislike. I have Halloween Kills next, which I actually have not gone back to since I saw it in theaters, but I thought it was just a lot of stupid fun, basically,
Hmm.
which like the title is accurate, you know?
Yes.
He does a
The
lot of
most
killing.
kills.
Yeah.
It should be Halloween the most kills because that's literally what
Yeah.
this one is.
Yep. Evil dies tonight, and so do a lot of people. I think it basically delivers on what I want out of the movie. The characters are dumb as rocks, like they really are.
Yes.
It's so painful. But Michael Myers is fun, and I don't know. This is like the most simple, straightforward, gives you what you want out of the modern Michael Myers killing machine stuff.
This one is so unlike the original Halloween because it just takes away all the subtlety of everything and then
Hmm.
just gives you this is a slasher. Like he's just slicing and dicing people. And there's some really cool inspired shots, I feel like, in this. Because like this is the one where they have like the long cracking shot of him in the street going into the house and everything. Or is that the
I
is
think
that
that's
that's
2018.
2018? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably why that one's better. Because that's the thing. This one doesn't have much to it to live on its own. And that's why this was so dumb that this was a trilogy. It was so dumb because this just felt like filler. Like you could have easily like condensed some of this and put it in the first one and ended the first one where this ended, and it would have made for an interesting one-two punch.
Hmm.
But this just felt like appendices of like we couldn't fit all these kills in the first one, so let's do that. And then Laurie's back in a hospital and sidelined the whole movie,
I
which
know.
was a
Oh, that
waste.
was the worst thing. Um,
But yeah, but Evil does die tonight. Just kidding, it didn't. Spoiler alert. All right, Foster, what's next?
Next up, I have Halloween 2018 next. Most people I think would put this a lot higher than me. I still really like it.
I
I like
feel
a lot
like
of the Halloween movies.
I feel like a lot of people have soured on this one in
Mm.
recent years, and I have no idea if Exorcist Deceiver has it to do with that. But anyway, continue about 2018.
Yeah, this is one where I was actually a little let down when this came out in theaters because I was really, really, really hyped for it.
Yep.
But then I rewatched it and liked it more the second time actually because I didn't have any expectations for what I wanted it to be.
Mhm.
Um, I like so many of the ideas. Jamie Lee Curtis is awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yes.
She's so cool in this movie. I like Michael Myers. He looks great. The mask looks cool. He's like as intimidating as you would want him to be. Um, I like the idea that the last like 20 minutes or so when she has her, bunker in her house with all her weapons and stuff. I think that's cool. Um, so yeah, now I really enjoy this movie a lot actually. It is a weird trilogy. Like these three, they don't none of them really feel very much like each other. Obviously, there's one movie in the trilogy I haven't gotten to yet, which hints at what I feel about it, but we'll get to it in a little bit.
Hey, This is so funny. This is co-written by Danny McBride. And you could feel it at times, like the little kid
Yes.
who's getting
Yeah.
babysat. That's hilarious. Like that scene was hilarious.
Yeah.
It has a good scare, but just the way the kid reacts to the
Hmm.
situation is really funny. And definitely were winking at the camera when they did a couple of nods and reversals to the first one, like the
Yeah.
Lori is in the shadows in the
Hmm.
background. And then I laughed so hard in the theater when Michael Myers looked and Lori was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that's obviously like winking at the camera, kind of like knowing. And that's honestly one of the biggest problems with legacy sequels at this point is that they're like consciously aware that they're just playing off of the original. But we'll get to this, but like I really love this one. And I had such an amazing time in the theater watching this. But let's go on to the next one.
I have Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. This one is a pretty simple plot.
Yep.
It's just like 80s vibes.
Mhm.
I have like a lot of fondness for the earlier sequels just because I feel like Halloween 2 and 3 maintain the John Carpenter vibe a bit, and then starting with Halloween 4 is where it starts to depart from that.
Yep.
So I just like this because it gives me a lot of the same feelings that the original one does, just not as good. Jamie Lee Curtis is also in a hospital in this one.
Yes.
And this is where they start to do the sibling storyline just a little bit, which is crazy that it comes immediately in the first sequel. They try to do that. And then you do have Donald Pleasance starting to ham it up more. This is where he like really starts
Yeah.
to turn it on, you know? Like in the first movie, he was restrained just a little bit, and here he's like shot him in the heart, you know?
Which this, if I'm not mistaken, this is actually written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. It's just John
Yes.
Carpenter did not direct this one. But yeah, it definitely feels like somebody was trying to direct like John Carpenter. I feel like this one leans a and why this one I don't like as much as the first one is because it starts leaning even more into the slashery kinds of parts. And
Mhm.
we'll get to like the original film
Yeah.
and why I think that's such a classic film. But like this one's just fun continuation, and basically it's slaughter in a hospital, 80s edition. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, so this is directed by Rick Rosenthal. He did one other Halloween sequel. Do you know which one it was?
The Curse of Michael Myers.
Even worse, it was Resurrection.
God, man.
Isn't that
You should
crazy?
have just let it lie.
Like 20
Wow.
years apart, he directs those. 21 years apart, he directs those.
It came back
Uh,
and then made the worst.
mhm.
There you go.
Yeah. My next up then is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which I just think this one's a lot of fun. This is like 80s ridiculousness. The plot is
Yes.
like, what even? Like, who came up with this
The
exactly? It's
romance
so
was stupid and so tacked on. And
it's just like a whole bunch of silly 80s ideas thrown in a blender. That's what this one is. It's really fun for me though. I like the vibes, I like the score. It really feels very John Carpenter-y to me.
Mhm.
I just had so much fun with this one.
uh Heath, if you're watching, our friend Heath hates this movie a
Yeah.
lot, which also like love the very 80s lead actor. I can't think of his name right now, and I
Oh,
didn't look it up, but
Tom Atkins?
Tom Atkins, who
Yeah.
was in a few Carpenter films himself and stuff like that, like The
Yeah.
Fog. And it just, this probably feels like the most Carpenter movie that
Yeah.
wasn't directed by John Carpenter in this franchise. And this was a fun idea. And so John Carpenter thought the same thing when they sent him his royalty check um, for Season of the Witch. Which also, greatest comment from a director ever was when a little kid asked him, "What's your favorite Halloween sequel?" He's like, "I don't care about any of them. I just care about the checks that they send me when they make money." Good for you, John Carpenter. But no, this one is such a fun idea, and in theory, was a fun idea that they were going to
Yeah.
turn this into an anthology, and then they're just like, "Nope, bring back
Yeah.
Michael Myers and let's milk that one for forever."
Yeah.
Which Miramax got the rights, right? most recently they beat out A24, I think it was, to get the Halloween rights. So just you wait. We'll be getting more. So we'll have
Yeah.
to make an amendment to this one.
Yeah.
But so there's Season of the Witch. I know one of these that's still around that
It's the next one.
bring it on, Foster.
Yeah, I'm a Halloween Ends truther. This is my movie. I really like this. This is my number three on my list. And I've seen it a couple times too, so it's not just like a fluke for me. And I think about it still a lot. I watch horror movies probably different than most people who went into the theater to watch Halloween Ends. Most people want a good sequel to Halloween and Halloween Kills. I just want something that is different than what I've ever seen before. Having seen all the Halloween movies, having sat through so many trashy horror sequels, which I
Yep.
love, um, I love the ones that do something different, that are a little bit bonkers, that are completely out of left field. So I watched this and I was like, I cannot believe this is where they're going with this sequel, but I was having a lot of fun with it because of that. Um, just some things I like, just like bullet point list. I do like the character of Corey. I like that performance. I find
Mm.
him interesting. So I can get on board with the plot in that way. Also, we haven't talked about the Carpenter's score for these new movies is so good. And
So good.
this is to me the best of the trilogy as far as the score goes, just because it has some new themes too, in
Mhm.
addition to the ones from 2018 and Kills, which those scores are amazing. I listened to all of them.
Yep.
And just like the vibes of this one. This one to me also feels very Carpentery in the sense that, like, I think of something like Prince of Darkness, which is like 20% plot,
Yes.
80% vibes. Like, that's what this movie is to me, where it's
Mhm.
like, I don't really know how to describe to you why I like this movie. I'm just feeling it. That's why I like this movie. I also love one thing David Gordon Green is good at, even in Exorcist Believer, which I didn't like very much. He is so good at casting these weird bit parts with actors that just have interesting faces that look like perfect small town America energy,
Uh,
and like Corey's, I think his dad, maybe, I can't remember, has just this interesting long face to him, and I just picture that guy in this movie. I wish I could remember the character's name, but I don't know. There's just so much that I find interesting about this that I have come to appreciate. And I do like the sort of procession sequence at the end of the movie where Michael Myers
mhm.
is being marched through the town. I think that's pretty cool, to be honest with you. So that's my spiel.
So I am certainly not as high on this one as you are.
You don't have
And
to
I
be.
do
No
actually
one
really
is.
want to rewatch this because it is so very different. And what frustrates me and makes me really hate this movie is that it was so different and then they chickened out. So like the very end, they were like, "Oh, just kidding. This is actually just about Lori and Michael." And then that it turns into this gives everybody who came to this movie what they wanted in the last 15 minutes of the movie. And I feel like if this movie had the guts to just stick that landing and go with it, I would have respected this movie a lot more. And this is one of the longest, if not the longest
Hmm.
Halloween movie because this is almost 2 hours. Like these movies generally are not
It's
this
the
long.
longest. Yeah.
Yeah. And like it takes a long time of really showing like Lori dealing with the aftermath of, like her daughter dies and kills and all these things. And I can respect that. And maybe because, I remember seeing this is going to be a weird comparison. I remember seeing Iron Man 3 in theaters and being so pissed off about some creative choices. But then
No, that's a
watching it
good
now,
comparison.
it really works for me because
Hmm.
what it is doing is hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
I think that twist is hilarious at this point.
Yeah.
But like watching this for the first time, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of bored
Hmm.
because they spend a lot of time really like drawing out some stuff. But what I respect most about this movie is that it is actually true to the original idea of Halloween. Is this idea that Michael Myers isn't a person. Like he's a shape in the
Hmm.
shape of a person,
Yeah.
but it's just evil. It's
Hmm.
the evil of
Yeah.
humanity. And this film digs into that in a much more interesting way than I feel like any other sequel dug into that. And which is what frustrates me about like the Rob Zombie ones is that it's trying so hard to humanize Michael Myers when it's like he's not human. Like now I feel like Dr. Loomis. He's not, and it's just like the whole entire idea of him is he is the evil that lurks,
Hmm.
and that infects Corey. And I
Yeah.
think that's such an interesting idea. I just wish that they went through all the way until the end with it.
Yeah.
And obviously that doesn't bother you as much as you have this pretty high up there, but like just felt like that must have been like some kind of studio.
Mm.
Like I'm imagining that was like a studio thing. Like you have to end this with Lori killing Michael. Like
Mm.
this is how this has to end. But I think it's an interesting idea, and it's definitely the most different. Well,
Yeah.
except for Season of the Witch, but I feel like that doesn't count because that's not even
Yeah.
about Michael Myers. But like this is the most different of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're if I'm counting correctly, we only have two left,
Yes.
and I definitely understand why these two were at the top. So let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I got H2O at my number
Yep.
two spot. This is so fun and it's so 90s.
Yeah. It's
It's
so
just like,
Scream.
yeah, it
Evan
is so
Williamson.
Scream.
Yep.
Yeah. But like I love the Scream movie. So like
Yes.
I it's I think there's a certain subset of Halloween fans that don't love this one because it's just trying to do Scream and it's like deviating so much from the tone of Halloween, but I don't know. I love the 90s energy here and Jamie Lee Curtis is back and she's really good.
He is
And
really good.
and this one, actually, I was giving the Rob Zombie movie credit for the like Laurie Strode's journey with Michael Myers, now viewed as a traumatic event. This movie did a similar thing where she's, running away from Michael Myers. She's in a different now she's in Northern California. It says I have the description right in front of me
Yeah.
as she's working at the school.
That's why
Um,
it really feels like Scream because it's probably like the same sets and stuff
yeah,
like that because it's the same place.
yeah.
And it's a different kind of vibe going from like Midwest.
Hmm.
Which also fun fact, I grew up in the next to the hometown of Deborah Hill, which is the basis
Hmm.
for Haddonfield,
Oh wow.
because Haddonfield, New Jersey. I
Mm.
grew up in Haddon Township. All the land was owned by one Quaker woman, and then they split off into different towns. So yes, this is all from New Jersey people talking Jersey. Uh, but anyway, just side note.
Yeah. Um, Fun cast. You have like Michelle Williams, Josh Hartnett. Um, you have also Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in like just the opening scene, I think. Um, I don't know. It's just so fun. And of course, like Jamie Lee Curtis, this was when watching the movies front to back, you really feel the dip when she's not in these movies for
Yes.
a few, and then she comes back and it's just like, oh man, there's a light again, you know. The last half hour is so fun when
Mhm.
Michael Myers comes to the school and oh man, all that is so good. And then it's fun to see Laurie like actually fight back this time because obviously in the first couple movies it's just her being chased and tormented, and it's like
Yeah.
it is sort of empowering. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and even shout out to Alan Arkin's son, who plays her love interest, right? Um, which that it took me until like earlier this year, I think, to realize that was Alan Arkin's son. Like Arkin, wait a minute. But no, the cast really works here. This is, I think, outside of Halloween 2018 and the first one, I think this is up there with the best that Jamie Lee Curtis brought in terms of like a performance and stuff like that to this franchise. Um, it's it's such a I feel like it's a breath of fresh air after the derivative and like schlockier last couple of ones where it just felt like it was diving into let's get like besides like Curse of Michael Myers, which gets really into the occult stuff, 4 and 5 felt so just the same kind of thing. It felt fresh. It felt different. I appreciated the new vibe to it. And Kevin Williamson was doing some great stuff with Scream. And I know you mentioned earlier that basically all you could expect from horror movie franchises once they get to like 4 or 5 and stuff like that is just a keep like they're going to be schlocky, dumb fun. But Scream's a franchise that I feel like has been able to keep things fresh and interesting. And Kevin
Hmm.
Williamson's a big part of that. He's the one who created this, writing it, and then Wes Craven, obviously. And I
Isn't he
also
going to
think that's like
direct the new Scream?
that's from what I understand, he's
Yeah,
supposed to do that because um the director of Happy Death Day dropped out along with the whole
yeah.
cast, the young cast. Now we're going straight back to like this feels like it's going to be an actual direct sequel to Scream because it's just going to
Mm.
be all the
It's
living
Sidney
legacy
Prescott.
characters
Yeah,
because Spyglass really messed up. Let's just throwing that out there. But anyway, no, so and we're there. We're at number one, and I feel like I'd be I'd be kind of disappointed if I did a ranking with anybody and the original's not at the
yeah.
top. But so Foster, why is Halloween the original at the top of your list?
Because it's the best. That's why it's so good.
Yes. So
There's I mean, like I love so many of the sequels, but the gap between number one and everything else is still huge. It's not even
yeah.
close. It is one of the best movies ever made, not even just horror movies. I really,
Yep.
really love this. It's short, it's to the point, it's exactly what you think it's gonna be. The first time I watched it, I was like, this is it? This is like so simple. This is not like blowing me away. But then I just kept thinking about it, and then every time I rewatched it, I'm just like I feel drawn to it. The Halloween energy of it is so great. Laurie Strode is such a fun protagonist. Michael Myers is so scary. The opening scene is perfect. I love the ending scene where it's just he's gone, he's just out there, and then the evil is just lingering in every one of those shots that they show at the end, and then the movie just ends. So like it just sticks in your brain. Donald Pleasance is so good. You're just constantly looking in the background for where is he going to be. There's so many memorable shots. There's him in the sheet with the glasses. It's just
Yeah.
like one of the greatest things ever, this movie.
This so having done John Carpenter for my Welcome to the Wasteland series, watching his original student film Captain Voyeur, which is all POV. Like it's basically a whole POV, like peeping Tom kind of short film. That opening sequence of this is legendary
Yeah.
because what a shock when they take the mask off and it's a child. And you're just
Yeah.
like, what? And just the technical prowess. And this film was made for like $5. But like this had barely any budget, and what they're able to accomplish here. The score, obviously the opening credits with the Halloween score is iconic.
Hmm.
And then the ding, ding, and ding, 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 and just like that piece of music too is so unnerving. And there's so many great moments of like the whole opening act in broad daylight is
Hmm.
terrifying.
Yeah.
And it takes a really good filmmaker to be able to make stuff scary in the daytime. Myers behind the bush. And, I love that shot of the kids are bullying the one kid. He falls down on his pumpkin and everything. And the other kids come running towards the camera and hit into Michael
Hmm.
Myers. And then it turns into this just side tracking shot along the fence and everything with the music. There's just so many amazing things about this. The as a pro wrestling fan, the Undertaker's biggest trademark of the sit up would not exist without Halloween. When he gets stabbed in the eye and he's just like
Hmm.
behind the bed, the deep focus of so many shots in this incredible. The silhouette and the shadow and that ending. And I feel like people don't think too much about what those final shots really mean is that it's the evil
Hmm.
of society and human beings that's just lurking
Hmm.
everywhere in this small town.
Hmm.
And the music playing, and that's also like such an amazing shot when his body's just gone and just
Hmm.
like what.
Yeah.
So it just all works. So I'm gonna go through a quick rundown. I feel like mine's pretty standard. I would assume like ranking wise. Resurrection's at the bottom. um I I feel like That's the pretty easiest one to place
Hmm.
down there. And like I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of the Rob Zombie one, so it's Halloween and Halloween 2. I have the Curse of Michael Myers. I have not seen the producer cut, just the, blocky regular version.
Hmm.
I do have Halloween Ends right above that.
Hmm.
Um, but that is honestly besides the original, that's the one that I want to rewatch the most at this moment in terms of seeing that. And then 5 and 4, because I feel like there are a lot of
Hmm.
just like it is what it is. Kills because of literally the kills. Like
Hmm.
that's just the smorgasbord of just
Yeah.
watching Michael Myers murdering people. And then I have Season of the Witch. I think it has a lot of fun aspects. I also think it has a lot of problems. And then this is where I feel like the top four I think are legitimately ones that I really, really enjoy. I have Halloween 2 next. So, and then I have Halloween H2O. My number two is actually Halloween 2018.
Hmm.
I I've loved that ever since I watched that
Yeah.
in a theater for the first time. And is it really just trying to be John Carpenter? Yes. But it gave me exactly what I wanted out of it. And then, yes, the distance between any of these and the original is like a football field length. And number one has to be the original Halloween, which I will be doing with the thing on my Wasteland retrospective podcast, which it should be with my brother as long as he has internet with all the
Hmm.
hurricane stuff that happened in North Carolina. But I'm so excited to rewatch Halloween for the Halloween season. But Foster, thank you so much for coming on and chatting movies with me.
Thanks for bringing me on to chat Halloween.
Absolutely. And thank all of you out there for tuning in and always supporting your Wasteland reviewer.